Section 35 of the Divine Comedy by Dante Alighieri, translated by Courtney Langdon. This Librivox recording is in the public domain. Purgatorio, Canto 1. Introduction to the Purgatorio. The shore of the island of Purgatory. Cato.
To run o'er better water hoists her sails the little vessel of my genius now, which leaves behind her such a cruel sea. And of that second realm I'll sing, wherein the human spirit purifies itself, and groweth worthy to ascend to heaven. But here let poetry arise from death, since holy muses yours I am, and let Calliope, here somewhat higher soaring, with those sweet tones accompany my song, whose power the miserable magpies felt so keenly, that of pardon they despaired. The oriental sapphire's tender hue, now gathering in the sky's unclouded face, as far as to the first of circles pure, began again to give mine eyes delight, when forth I issued from the deadly air, which with its gloom had filled mine eyes and heart. The beauteous planet which incites to love, veiling with light the fishes in her train, was causing all the eastern sky to laugh. Round to the right I turned, and set my mind upon the other pole, and saw 4 stars, never perceived save by the first of men. The sky appeared to enjoy their little flames. O region of the north, that widowed art because deprived of gazing thereupon! When I had from the sight of them withdrawn, turning a little toward the other pole, whence now the wane had wholly disappeared, a lone old man beside me I perceived, deserving of such reverence in his looks, that no son owes his father any more. Long was the beard he wore, and partly white, as likewise was the hair upon his head, 2 locks of which hung down upon his breast. And so the rays of those 4 holy stars adorned his face with splendour, that to me coarse he looked as if the sun were facing him.
Who then are ye, that 'gainst the blind streams have from the eternal prison escaped?
He said, moving the while those venerable locks.
Who led you, or what served you as a lamp, when forth ye issued from the night profound, which makes the infernal veil forever black? Are broken thus the laws of hell's abyss? Or through new counsel is there change in heaven, that ye, though damned, are come to these my cliffs?
My leader thereupon took hold of me, and with his words and with his hands and signs imposed respect upon my legs and brow. He then replied,
I came not of myself. From heaven came down a lady, at whose prayer I helped this man with my companionship. But since thy will it is that our true state should be explained to thee more clearly, mine it cannot be that this should be denied thee. Not yet had this man his last evening seen, but through his folly was so near to it that he was left but very little time. As I have told thee, I was sent to save his life, nor was there any other way than this to which I have addressed myself. I have shown him all the people who are guilty, and now I mean those spirits to reveal who neath thy jurisdiction cleanse themselves. Long would it take to tell thee how I led him. Virtue descendeth from on high, which helps me lead him to see thee and to hear thee speak. His coming therefore please to welcome. Freedom he seeks, which is so dear, as knoweth he who gives up life therefore. This thou dost know, since death for its sake was not bitter to thee in Utica, where thou didst leave the robe, which on the great day will so brightly shine. The eternal edicts are not void through us, for this man lives, and I am not bound by Minos, but of that circle am wherein the eyes of thy chaste Marcia are, O holy breast, whose looks implore thee still to hold her thine. For love of her then yield thee unto us, permit us through thy 7 domains to go. My grateful praise of thee I'll bear to her, if to be mentioned there below thou deign.
Marcia so pleased mine eyes,
he then replied,
that, while upon the other side I was, I granted all the favours she desired. Now that she dwells beyond the evil stream, no longer can she move me, by the law made at the moment when I issued thence. But if a lady of heaven impel and guide thee, as thou hast said, no need of flattering prayers, suffice it thee that for her sake thou ask. Go then, and see that with a leafless rush thou gird this man, and that thou wash his face, so that therefrom all foulness thou remove. For 'twere not fit he went, with eyes o'ercast by any mist, before the first of those who serve as ministers of Paradise. This little isle around its lowest base, down yonder where the waves are beating it, produces rushes on its yielding ooze. No other plant, like one that brought forth leaves, or hardened, can maintain its life down there, because it yields not when receiving blows. Thereafter be not hither your return. The sun which rises now will show you how to climb the mountain by the easiest slope.
Thereat he disappeared, and I arose without a word, and to my leader's side I closely drew, and toward him turned mine eyes. And he began,
Son, follow thou my steps. Let us turn backward, for the shore slopes down on this side toward its lowly boundaries.
The dawn was vanquishing the morning breeze, which fled before it, so that from afar I recognized the shimmering of the sea. We now were going o'er the lonely plain, as one who to a road he lost returns, and till he find it seems to go in vain. When we were there, where with the sun the dew still struggles on, through being in a place where, for the breeze, it slowly melts away, my teacher, having spread out both his hands, rested them gently on the tender grass. Whence I, who of his purpose was aware, yielded to him the cheeks my tears had stained. He then brought all that natural colour back, which hell had on my countenance concealed. We came thereafter to that lonely shore, which never saw its waters sailed by one who afterward experienced a return. Here, as the other pleased, he girded me. O wondrous sight! For like the humble plant which he had chosen, another instantly sprang forth again from where he tore the first.
End of Purgatorio, Canto 1. Section 36 of the Divine Comedy by Dante Alighieri, translated by Courtney Langdon. This Librivox recording is in the public domain. Purgatorio, Canto 2. The shore of the island of Purgatory. The angel pilot and arriving souls.
And now already had the sun arrived at that horizon whose meridian circle rests with its zenith o'er Jerusalem, and night, which circles opposite thereto, was issuing from the Ganges with the scales, which, when she gains, are falling from her hands. So that the white and pure vermilion cheeks of beautiful Aurora, where I was, were turning orange through excessive age. Along the seaside we were lingering still, like folk who, taking thought about their road, go on in heart, but with their bodies stay. When lo, as, at the approach of morning, Mars, because of heavy vapours, groweth red down in the west above the ocean's floor, even so I saw, may I again behold it, a light which o'er the sea so swiftly moved, that no flight is as rapid as its motion. From which, when I a moment had withdrawn mine eyes to ask a question of my leader, again I saw it grown more bright and large. And on each side of it there then appeared I knew not what white thing, and underneath little by little came another forth. Meanwhile my teacher uttered not a word until the first white objects looked like wings. Then, having recognized the pilot well, he cried,
See, see, now that thou bend thy knees, this is God's angel. Fold thy hands. Henceforth shalt thou behold such offices as this. See how he so scorns human instruments as to wish neither oar nor other sail than his own wings between such distant shores. See how he holds them straight up toward the sky, stroking the air with those eternal plumes which do not mould as mortal feathers do.
And then, as more and more the bird divine drew near to us, the brighter he appeared. Therefore mine eyes endured him not near by, but down I cast them. With a little boat he came ashore, so agile and so light, the water swallowed up no part of it. Such on its stern the heavenly pilot stood, that he would bless one were he but described. More than 100 spirits sat within.
When Israel out of Egypt came, when Israel out of Egypt came.
They all in unison were singing there together, with what is written after in that psalm. Then having signed them with the holy cross, whereat all cast themselves upon the shore, he went away as swiftly as he came. The crowd which stayed seemed strangers to the place, and gazed around them there, as doth a man who with unwonted things acquaints himself. The sun, which from the middle of the sky had hunted Capricorn with arrows bright, was shooting forth the day on every side, when those new people raised their brows toward us, and said,
If ye know how, point out to us the road that one should take to reach the mount.
And Virgil answered,
Ye perchance believe that we have had experience of this place, but we are pilgrim strangers like yourselves. We came just now, a little while before you, but by another way, so rough and hard that going up will now seem play to us.
The souls who, by my breathing, had become aware that I was still a living being, in their astonishment turned death-like pale. And as around a messenger who bears the olive, people surge to hear the news, and as to crowding none of them seem shy, so one and all those fortune-favoured souls fixed on my face their gaze, as if forgetting to go and make their spirits beautiful. Then one among them I beheld advance, in such a loving manner to embrace me that it persuaded me to do the like. O, save in your appearance, empty shades! 3 times behind it did I clasp my hands, and to my breast therewith as oft returned. With wonder I believe I painted me. Smiling because of this, the shade drew back, while following after I pressed further on. With gentle words he told me to desist. Then who it was I knew, and begged of him to stop a little while and speak with me.
As thee I loved, when in my mortal body,
He answered me,
even so, when freed, I love thee. Therefore I stop. But wherefore goest thou?
Casella, mine, said I take this journey, that where I am I may return again. But why from thee hath so much time been taken? And he to me,
No outrage hath been done me, if he, who takes both when and whom he likes, hath more than once refused me passage here. For to a righteous will is his conformed, yet peacefully these 3 months hath he taken whoever wished to enter into his boat. Hence I, who now was toward the sea-shore bent, where Tiber's water mingles with the salt, was with benignity received by him, at yonder river's mouth, toward which his wings even now are turned, for those who go not down toward Acheron always assemble there.
and I, if some new law take not from thee the memory or the practice of the song of love, which used to quiet all my longings, be pleased a little to console therewith my spirit, which, because of coming here when in its body, is so sore distressed.
The love that talketh with me in my mind.
He thereupon began to sing so sweetly that still within me is its sweetness heard. My teacher, I, and those that with him were, seemed as contented as if none of us had any other thing upon his mind. Absorbed in listening to his notes, we all were motionless, when lo, the grave old man, who cried,
Ye laggard spirits, what is this? What means this negligence and standing still? Run to the mount, and strip ye off the slough, which lets not God be visible to you.
Even as when picking grains of wheat or tares, doves, met together at their feeding, calm, and not displaying their accustomed pride, if anything appear that frightens them, all of a sudden leave their food alone, because assailed by greater cause for care; even so I saw that new-come family give up the song, and toward the hillside move, like one who goes, but whither knoweth not. Nor was in less haste our departure made.
End of Purgatorio, Canto 2. Section 37 of the Divine Comedy by Dante Alighieri, translated by Courtney Langdon. This Librivox recording is in the public domain. Purgatorio, Canto 3. Antipurgatory. The repentant who died excommunicated.
Although their sudden flight had scattered them over the plain, and turned them toward the mount, where justice probes us with its penalties, more closely to my faithful mate I drew. And how without him had I run my race, or who had drawn me up the mountain's side? To me he seemed o'erwhelmed with self-reproach. O conscience, when both dignified and clear, how sharp a bite a slight fault is to thee! When once his feet had given up the haste which of their dignity deprives all acts, my mind, to one thought limited at first, enlarged its scope with eager interest now, and toward that mountain I addressed my gaze, which skyward rises highest from the sea. The sun, which back of us was flaming red, in front of me was broken in the shape wherein I lent its rays a resting place. I turned, and at my side I looked, afraid of having been abandoned when I saw the ground was dark in front of me alone. When wholly turned, my comforter began.
Why still distrustful? Dost thou not believe that I am with thee, and am guiding thee? 'Tis evening now, where buried lies the body wherein I cast a shadow. Naples now possesses it. From Brindisi it was taken. If then in front of me no shadow fall, marvel no more than at the heavenly spheres thou wouldst, which hinder not each other's rays. That power enables bodies such as mine to suffer torments, both of heat and cold, which wills not that its ways be shown to us. Insane is he that hopes our human reason will ever travel o'er the boundless path over which one substance in three persons moves. Be satisfied, O human race, with facts, for if you could have seen the cause of all, no need had been for Mary to bear child, and you've seen, vainly longing, men so great that their desire would else have been appeased, which given them is for an eternal grief. I speak of Aristotle and of Plato, and many others.
Here he bowed his head, and saying nothing more remained disturbed. Meanwhile we had attained the mountain's foot, and there we found the rocky cliff so steep that legs would there be nimble all in vain. 'Tween Lerici and Turbia the loneliest and wildest path is, if compared with that, a safely climbed and easy flight of stairs.
Now, who knows on which side the hill so slopes?
Then said my teacher, as he stayed his steps.
That he who wingless goes can make the ascent.
Meanwhile, as he was questioning his mind about the path, and held his face bowed down, and I was gazing upward round the cliff, upon my left a throng of souls appeared, who toward us moved their feet, yet did not seem to move, so slowly were they coming on. Teacher, said I, lift up thine eyes, behold on this side people who will give us counsel, if thou canst not obtain it from thyself. He then looked up, and with relief replied,
Let us go toward them, for they slowly come, and thou, sweet son, be steadfast in thy hope.
Those people were as yet as far away, after 1,000 of our steps, I mean, as a good thrower's hand would reach, when all pressed up against the lofty bank's hard mass, and stayed there, still and huddled up together, as when in doubt a walker stops to look. Virgil began,
O ye whose end was good, O now elected spirits, by the peace which I believe ye all look forward to, say where the mount so lies that going up be possible for us, for loss of time to him who knoweth most is most displeasing.
As from the fold young sheep are wont to come by ones and twos and threes, while timidly the others stay with downcast eyes and muzzle. And what the first one doth, so do the rest, all huddling up to her in case she stop, simple and quiet, nor yet knowing why. Even so, the leader of that favoured flock I saw start forward then, and toward us come, modest in face and dignified in gait. When those who were in front the light beheld so broken on the ground upon my right, that 'gainst the cliff a shadow fell from me, they stopped and backward drew a little way, and all the others coming on behind, not knowing why they did so, did the same.
Without your asking, I affirm to you that this you see a human body is. Therefore the sun's light on the ground is broken. Be not surprised then, but believe that not without a power that cometh down from heaven is he attempting to surmount this wall.
My teacher thus. Those worthy people then, as with the back part of their hands they waved, said,
Turn then, and ahead of us go in.
And one of them began,
Whoe'er thou art, as thus thou goest, turn thy face. Recall if thou hast ever seen me in the world.
Toward him I turned, and on him fixed my gaze. Blond, handsome, and of noble mien he was, although an eyebrow by a blow was cut. When I had with due modesty disclaimed having e'er seen him there, he said,
Now see,
and showed me high upon his breast a wound. Then with a smile he said,
Manfred am I, the grandson of the Empress Constance. Hence I beg thee that, on thy return, thou go to my fair daughter, mother of the honour of Sicily and Aragon, and, should aught else be told her, tell her thou the truth. After my body by 2 mortal stabs had been pierced through, in tears I gave myself to that one who forgiveth willingly. My sins were horrible indeed, and yet the goodness infinite hath arms so wide that it receiveth all who turn to it. And if Cosenza's pastor, who by Clement was sent to hunt me down, had then perused this page in God's book, as he should have done, my body's bones would still be lying there, hard by the bridge's head near Benevento, under the keeping of the heavy cairn. Bathed by the rain, the wind now blows them round outside the kingdom, near the Verdi's banks, whither he moved them with extinguished lights. Not by their cursing is eternal love so lost that it cannot return again as long as hope hath still a speck of green. 'Tis true that he that dieth in contempt of Holy Church, though at the very last he may repent, outside this mountain's bank must stay for all the time that he hath been in his presumption, 30 times as long, unless by good prayers shortened be this ban. See now, if thou canst make me glad, by telling my good Constanza both where thou hast seen me, and of this interdict. For one is here greatly advanced by those that are beyond.
End of Purgatorio, Canto 3.